Yo guys, what is going on? Got an X antibody deck profile for you guys. I think this is one of the most anticipated decks for the BT8 format. A very, very powerful one-stack deck. It's a one-stack deck that can basically just do everything, draw cards, gain memory, blow things up, has built-in protection, check 10 cards, restand with reboot blocker, and there's just so much so many crazy effects and interactions you can do in this deck. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've been having a lot of fun testing this out. Of course, the Digiek is, I think, not up for debate. You just definitely play 4 copies of Doraemon. I don't think you need 5 Digieks. You're usually either killing your opponent with your first stack, or in the off chance you go into a second stack. You know, you always want to see this Digiek. There's really nothing else about it. Being able to just draw cards whenever you stick something underneath is really fantastic. So then for the rookies, of course, playing the Searcher cards, of course, 4 copies of Doraemon and 4 copies of the new Ryudamon. So both of these guys do effectively the same thing, except the tamers they search for are different. So Dorumon here will search the top 3 and add a Coda Domodo and any X antibody, and then Ryudamon will add an X antibody plus Ujimusha. So both of these guys search an X antibody plus the respective tamer, and then the inherited effects, Ryudamon's doesn't come up too much. It says while this Digimon has X antibody, it gains Decoy Black, and the decoy keyword indicates that if another Digimon would be deleted by a card effect, you can pop this Digimon instead. Usually you're really only making 1 Digimon at a time, but it is nice occasionally, maybe if you've got like a decoy and as well as a blocker keyword and you're trying to protect like your Alphamon or something like that, it can be useful. But of course the more prominent one is the Dorumon. When one of your effects places a Digimon Digivolution card underneath this Digimon, you get to gain 1 memory. One thing I do want to point out about this card, if you guys don't know, just a little bit of ruling for you. If, for example, you have an X antibody Digimon on field, or in case Dorugumon, if you via an effect stick something underneath, stick a Dorumon underneath a Digimon, you can immediately trigger the Dorumon to gain the memory. So let's say you've got something like the Doru Greymon here. So let's say I Digivolve Doru Greymon. I can use his effect, put an X antibody underneath, and then he protect himself via card effects and deletion. And then in a separate trigger, I can trigger Dorumon's inherited to once per turn 1, you stick something underneath, gain 1 memory. Since there's no like step necessarily that checks inherited, you can trigger this inherited after this one resolves, hence gaining you the plus off the memory. So just wanted to point that out. Some people were a little bit confused about that. So anyways, that is it for the Searcher rookies. And then for the other ones, of course, just playing 4 copies of Tsunorizumon. Now, I know this guy is very pricey at the moment, but of course, I do think this is one of the best rookies. This is the best rookie to have in like your in your breeding area. So just Digivolving this in the first turn and like maybe playing a Doraemon, get some searches off. This guy, the first like main effect, it doesn't come up too much. Being able to give your black Digimon with 13k or more piercing is pretty nice, but of course the main reason you play him is because you get security attack +1 if this Digimon is black with 13,000 or more DP, which your Digimon is pretty much always going to be at 13k or more. Dorugormon gains DP for each like X antibody. Alphamon, you can boost him to 13k. Oryu is already 12k and his effects boost him to 14, so you guys get my gist. This is just really good for the extra aggression. Any rookie that says you gain sec attack +1 will always be good in my opinion. And then for the champions, playing of course all the new X antibody supports as well as the old one. So playing 4 copies of Dorugumon as well as 4 copies of Ginryumon. So both of these guys revolve around the blocker keyword. First of all, Dorugumon has the main effect where during your opponent's turn, while you have another Digimon in play with X antibody in its traits or X antibody in this Digimon's Digivolution card, so let's say like a Dorumon underneath him, this Digimon gets blocker. So this guy becomes a blocker on field, and then Ginryumon is during your opponent's turn, if this Digimon has antibody in its trace, it gains the blocker keyword. So if you've got like an Alphamon and this is underneath it, your Alphamon will have blocker for as long as you've got X antibody in its trace, which is pretty much always. And then Dorugormon also gives +1000 while this Digimon has X antibody in its trace during all turns. So this is nice, being able to stack both of these underneath. And then now you've got a blocker that's +1000 during all turns, so which is good. Swinging into your opponent's security as well as blocking against your opponent's Digimon. Being able to put Alphamon to 12k, Dorugormon to the 12k during your opponent's turn is really important. So that is it for the X antibody champions. And then for the other champions, just playing 3 copies copies of Grumblemon, the hybrid finisher. This is really just to close out games. You pretty much don't ever want to Digivolve on him, but if this is your only champion at the time, you can if you absolutely need to do so. But that is it for the level 4 lineup. For the level 5 lineup, of course, playing 4 copies of each of the really broken level 5 X antibodies, 4 copies of Doragreymon, and 4 copies of Hisaryumon. So Doragreymon is, of course, really powerful for the inherited effect of Sec Attack +1, as long as this card has X antibody, which, like I said, you're pretty much always, if you've got this plus Sinriza, that's already 3 checks right there. So this guy, and of course he stacks, so if you got 2 of him underneath, like an Alphamon or something, you can check multiple times and an Oryumon unsuspend. But then, of course, his one Digivolving is a really powerful effect. You can place a black X antibody card underneath him to be able to prevent it from being DP reduced or deleted by card effects. So the only thing that really gets around this is like being attacked over, maybe something like a Cocytus Breath or like a Chaos Degradation. But as far as like Wyvern's Breath goes, as far as Gaia Forces, well, maybe no one's really playing Gaia Force, but you guys get my gist. This is just really good against a lot of like roguish stuff, being able to have protection against card effects is always nice. And then Hisaryumon, I think this card has sped up the deck quite a bit. So this guy has 2 really crazy effects. The Your Turn effect, his main effect, is really powerful. When one of your effects places a Digivolution card underneath this Digimon, you may Digivolve it into an X antibody with paying its memory cost -1. So basically, you pay its memory cost, but it's reduced by 1. So if you evolve into an Alphamon, for example, it'll only cost 2. Now, the reason why this is so good, you might be wondering, it's a Your Turn effect, not a when attacking, so you can't necessarily like attack and blitz into it the same way you can like Rhino Kabuterimon. However, the fact that you now have access to Yuji Musha changes all of that. So Yuji has the Your Turn effect, where it says when one of your black Digimon with X antibody in its traits attacks, you can suspend him to place a Digimon card with X antibody in its traits from your hand at the bottom of that Digimon sources. So the main combo here is you've got Hisaryumon, and then you get to basically you swing at your opponent's security or one of their Digimon, you attack, and then Yuji's effect, since one of your Digimon attack, you can suspend this, place, like, let's say, just place this underneath it, and then in order to now trigger this effect, then Your Turn, since you place something underneath it, you can then Digivolve it into an X antibody. So I'll Digivolve it into my Alphamon for only a 2 cost. Alphamon battles, at the end of battle, you gain 2 memory. So it's just really powerful, being able to promote like a champion, Digivolve into Hisaryu, attack, and then go immediately into Alphamon, speeds up your deck quite considerably, and then of course being able to trigger Alphamon's end of battle is really important as well. Now, one thing, again, as far as rulings go, I do want to point out, you cannot actually trigger Doragoremons when attacking. So, for example, if I do the same scenario where I attack and then Yuji effect, place something underneath effect, Digivolve into Doragoremon, I cannot trigger Doragoremon's when attacking effect because it's missed its trigger, because it's already past the when attacking. Doragoremon was not on field to see the attack. It's kind of the same interaction with like I don't know, like an Ancient Greymon plus Marcus combo. Maybe that's not the best comparison, but you guys get what I mean. But my point is you can't trigger that, but you can still, you know, swing into it, and then Doragoremon will have the like continuous Your Turn effect to like gain DP, so that can be relevant as well. But anyways, enough about Hisaryumon. Oh, did I mention also he's got the inherited reboot, so being able to give your Digimon reboot blocker is quite disgusting, especially after you've checked their security for like 20 cards. So anyways, guys, that is the ultimate lineup for the Megas. We've got, of course, like I said before, 3 copies of Alphamon, and to pair with them, I'm playing 3 copies of Oryumon. So Alphamon, of course, having the when attacking, you can pay X amount of memory, and then gain DP equal to that in increments of 1,000, and the end of attack, gain 2 memory. The end of attack is not once per turn, so we're trying to abuse that as much as possible. Be able to attack, Yuji's effect, place an Oryumon underneath it, and then end of attack, being able to then unsuspend, and then gain 2 memory, attack again, gain 2 more memory, is just really crazy. So Oryu Alpha is definitely, I think, the new way to play this deck. This is a combo. This is like your main combo to go for, and then of course Alphamon's security effect is just like randomly really broken. This lets you basically freeze all of your opponent's Digimon, prevent them from attacking the player so long as you've got an X antibody / Royal Knight on the field. Now Oryumon, of course, is really powerful for that inherited effect, but his main effect, like his one Digivolving and Your Turn effects, are actually really powerful as well. When Digivolving, you can place an X antibody underneath them to pop a 7 cost or lower Digimon. That's a gigantic threshold. So that considers like pretty much every single level 4 or lower and a lot of level 5. So it's really good against some of the slower paced decks, against some of the tower decks, maybe the mirror match, as well as like Black or Greymon, etc. But just being able to pop stuff is good. And then once per turn, your turn, if you place something underneath him, you give him plus 2000 TP, and he cannot be deleted by your opponent's effects until the end of the next turn. So again, it makes him like a tower, basically. You can't out him. He's 14,000 DP. He's got like reboot blocker. Next turn, you're getting like OTK'd. So it's just a really, really powerful effect. Oryumon, I think, definitely underutilized as far as like his main effect goes. And then lastly, just one copy of Doragoromon. I still think Doragoromon is really, really broken just for being able to clear boards. This card becomes, I think, much better. Well, I think the whole deck just becomes better because of Yuji, but also you can stick materials way faster underneath them. So usually on your first swing, before you would only have like 4 to 5 materials. Now you can get like 6, 7 pretty easily. So being able to blow up like 2 level 5s or lowers is really broken. But of course, your main like OTK strategy is still Alphamon. So guys, that's it for the level 6s. And then for the Tamer / option cards, playing 3 copies of Koradomoto. So this guy, of course, being your consistency Tamer, is really good. He's like the Davis of the deck. Reveal him, play him, reveal top 4, add next antibody, and then of course being a memory setter is really good. I still think 3 is really solid in this deck. And then being able to now have access to 4 copies of Yuji Musha. So Yuji is your match / tie of the deck. If you move out an X antibody, you gain a memory, draw 1. So now you have even more consistency. This deck has become so much more consistent with the inclusion of Yuji plus Ryudomon as well. So much searching going on. And then of course during your turn when you attack, you can just stick stuff underneath. This allows you to trigger your Dorimon for the gain memory, draw 1. Allows you to put an Oryu underneath to unsuspend your Alphamon, etc. So there's just a lot of utility. Helps you OTK much easier. In fact, there's been a lot of times like if you've got like 2 of these on field, or you can like, you have 1, you like Alphamon Oryu combo, you gain 2, play another one now that you're at 3, and then Alphamon Oryu combo again. So there's just a lot of really crazy things you can do with this card. So that is it for the Tamer lineup. And then for the option cards, I'm playing 3 black memory boost, mainly because this is of course a tower deck. You want to see all of your combo pieces, so being able to just pick out what you need and then gaining memory off of the delay effect is very, very essential, I think. And then lastly, just 2 copies of Eisei Ryujin. This card is simultaneously good and a little bit like mid in my opinion. It's really good for just outing certain things. Sometimes you just need to get rid of stuff, but then also being able to stick something underneath helps as well, so making this a potential like 3 cost, cycling a card with Dorimon, etc. Now honestly, I'd probably cut like 1 of each of these and play like 2 Breath of the Gods. The only reason I'm not doing so is because I literally cannot find my Breath of the Gods, but that's probably what I'd recommend for you guys. So I'd play like 2 of this, 2 Breath of Gods, 1 Eisei Ryujin. Breath of the Gods, if you guys don't know, is a 2-cost black option card that says this Digimon gains reboot, and you can't reduce its DP by card effects, and then its security effect, really, really broken. Your opponent can't attack players for the turn, so it saves me, it saved me a lot of games throughout testing. So guys, that is going to do it for the deck profile. So let me know down in the comments what you think of this deck. Do you like the Alphamon Oryu combo? And how are you feeling about X Antibody going into the BT8 format? I personally think it is a top tier deck. Very, very powerful, very high ceiling, and lots of consistency, which is definitely the most important thing now. So guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.